she vanished in the space between two breaths. At 1:12 a.m., a 17-year-old girl named Lena Maris sent a text from the side of a dark country road. "Leaving. Now. 10 minutes tops. Don't wait up." At 1:19 a.m., her phone stopped talking to the world. No crash detected. No call for help. Just a signal that went quiet. And a town that, for reasons it still struggles to admit, decided to go quiet with it. This is the story of that town. How it lost her once on a summer night, and then lost her again in all the days that followed. If you drive far enough away from the nearest city, the scenery begins to repeat itself. Long, flat roads with the heat trembling above them. Hand-painted fresh egg signs nailed to fence posts. A main street of brick buildings that have watched generations grow up, grow old, and grow restless. On the map, this town is just another dot between exits. But inside, life is busy in small ways. The bakery putting out cinnamon rolls at dawn, the school marching band practicing the same 3 songs it's always played, the Friday night ritual of stadium lights blinking on against a purple sky. People here like to say, nothing bad really happens in a place like this. They say it the way you might knock on wood, half belief, half superstition. Lena grew up inside that sentence. She was the kind of girl small towns are proud to export. Honor roll grades, part-time job at the library, the first in her family with a scholarship waiting in a city whose name sounded like a promise. On the last Friday of that last summer, she wanted one more ordinary night. A party on the edge of town, music too loud for the neighbors, cheap beer sweating in plastic cups, fireflies hovering over the fields like curious spectators. Later, people would disagree about the details. Had she been drinking or just tired? Did she seem annoyed or only distracted? But almost everyone remembered the moment she left. On the back porch, voices rose and clashed. Someone making a joke that landed wrong. A man twice her age insisting he was friends with the owner. A hand on her shoulder that lingered too long. Lena set her cup down. The screened door slapped shut behind her. "It's 10 minutes, she said to the friend who offered to walk her. "I've walked this road 1,000 times." She turned left at the mailbox with the peeling number, and the dark swallowed her whole. By morning, the town was already writing 2 versions of the story. In one, Lena was still just a good kid who'd lost track of time. Her mother, Anna, paced the kitchen floor, dialing and redialing numbers until worry became something more solid, like stone, inside her chest. In the other version, the one no one wanted to say out loud something had happened on that road. Deputies drove the route with their windows down, the dry weeds brushing against the shoulders of the highway. Volunteers walked the ditches, plastic water bottles knocking against their thighs. From above, sunlight poured down over everything, flattening shadows, refusing to give up even a scrap of evidence. They found the usual debris of a rural weekend night: empty cans, cigarette butts, the soft collapse of trampled grass. They did not find Lena. At a small press conference outside the sheriff's office, the man in the tan uniform cleared his throat and faced the cameras. "We have no evidence of foul play at this time," he said. "We're following all leads. Lena, if you hear this, you're not in trouble. Please come home." Behind him, on the brick wall, the town's values were painted in blue letters: faith, family, community. People repeated the sheriff's words to each other over coffee and church bulletins. "She'll turn up," they said. "She probably needed space. She's a smart girl. She knows how to take care of herself." A different sentence threaded quietly beneath those assurances. "Let's not accuse anyone, not unless we're sure." Several girls, 15, 16 years old, mentioned the same man when they were asked if anything at the party had made them uncomfortable. A divorced father. "It was easier," they said later, "to describe his cologne than to explain the feeling in their stomach when he walked into the room." None of that made it into the official report. On paper, Lena was last seen leaving a social gathering, presumed to be walking home alone. No suspect named, no theory favored. The file went into a gray metal drawer in the basement of the sheriff's office. The drawer closed with a metallic sigh that sounded too much like a period. Time passed the way it often does in small places. Not as a straight line, but as a circle.
Back-to-school nights became graduation ceremonies. Thanksgiving parades followed 4th of July fireworks. Winters softened into springs. Lena's mother kept her daughter's room exactly as it was. Posters on the walls, acceptance letter folded and refolded on the desk, a stack of library books with the due dates long expired. "I want her to recognize home if she walks back in," Anna would say to visitors who were brave enough to cross the threshold. Out in town, Lena's photo watched over everyone, from faded flyers on notice boards. At first, they were replaced as soon as the corners curled. Eventually, people just taped new paper over old, layer upon layer, hope pressed flat under staples. And slowly, the story changed. "I heard she ran off with a boyfriend. I heard drugs were involved. I heard she couldn't handle the pressure of leaving." Rumors are a kind of weather. They move in and settle, and after a while people forget that they're not the same as air. The man from the party kept going to games, to the bar, to church. He coached a youth team. He sat 2 rows over from Anna one Sunday, and the whole congregation seemed to hold its breath, as if choosing which way to look would permanently define who they were. No one said his name in connection with Lena's. Not officially. Not where it would matter. The town had lost her once. Now, bit by bit, it was losing the language to talk about her at all. Every unsolved story waits for someone who doesn't know how things are supposed to go. For this town, it was a young reporter named Mara, who drove in one rain-streaked afternoon with a trunk full of recording equipment and more curiosity than the locals were comfortable with. She'd grown up 2 counties over, following missing person cases on the news, like some kids followed sports teams. She knew the statistics. How often young women of a certain age simply vanished from records and from memory. What drew her here wasn't the lack of evidence. It was an email. Subject line: "They know who did it. They just won't say it out loud." The sender didn't give a real name. What they did give were details that felt too specific to ignore. The party. The road. The man everyone avoided accusing. Mara checked into the only motel and started knocking on doors. The bartender remembered Lena laughing, remembered telling her to slow down, just to be safe. Remembered, with a knot in his throat, the way the older man leaned in too close when he ordered his drink. A woman who'd moved away years earlier described another night, another parking lot, a hand on her wrist she'd yanked away from. "I told myself I was overreacting," she said, her voice shaking through the phone. "It was easier than telling my dad." His drinking buddy felt dangerous. Anna sat at her kitchen table opposite Mara, fingers wrapped around a mug that had long gone cold. "I used to pray for a miracle," she said. "Now, I would settle for the truth." One afternoon, in the basement of the sheriff's office, Mara pulled open the drawer where Lena's file was supposed to live. The folder was thin, too thin. A short summary, a few statements, a map with a highlighter, line tracing that lonely walk home. Behind it, misfiled or hidden, no one could later agree which, she found another report. Older. Brief. A teenage girl complaining that the same man had cornered her after a game. The word unsubstantiated was stamped in block letters across the top. The girl's family had moved out of town 3 months later. Reading it, Mara felt a heaviness that had nothing to do with paper. How many warnings does a community need before silence stops being protection and becomes consent? Mara turned what she found into a series of audio episodes. She changed names, blurred edges, followed legal advice. But the town didn't need her to say the man's real name to know exactly who she meant. In living rooms and pickup trucks, people listened. Some cried, hearing their own interview lines woven into a story that finally made sense of their unease. Others scoffed, calling it gossip dressed up with somber music. At a school board meeting, parents raised their hands not just about Lena, but about hallway comments, harmless touches, jokes that had never sat right. "Are you calling us cowards?" one man demanded. "No," another parent answered quietly. "We're calling us late." Anna spoke at the end, standing when no one expected her to. "You didn't take my daughter from me," she said, "but you kept giving him back to the world. Every time you laughed something off, every time you looked away. That's how I lost her the second time." No arrests followed the podcast. No dramatic confession arrived in Mara's inbox. The man at the center of it all sold his house and moved 2 states over. On paper, Lena's case remained what it had been from the start: open, unsolved, waiting. But something in the town's air had shifted. Parents walked their kids home after dark instead of trusting the myth of safety. Girls compared notes, and this time adults listened. Old stories, once dismissed as drama, were retold with the gravity they had always deserved. For the first time in years, people said Lena's name without rushing to change the subject. We like our crime stories with sharp endings. A body found. A trial concluded. A headline that says, "Case closed." Most of the time, though, the real question isn't, who did it? It's who kept quiet. And why was that easier? The town that lost Lena twice will probably never get the kind of closure TV promises. There may never be a day when someone in handcuffs explains, step by awful step, what happened between 1:12 and 1:19 a.m. on that summer night. What they do have is something less satisfying, but more honest. An awareness that monsters are not born fully formed in the dark. They grow in the spaces where discomfort is swallowed, where instincts are mocked, where "he's just like that" buys one more year of looking the other way. Maybe you live in a place like this. Maybe you don't. But you know the feeling, that small, sharp tug in your chest when something isn't right, and the immediate urge to smooth it over, to be polite, to stay part of the group? If Lena's story means anything outside the borders of her town, it's this. The first time we lose someone might be out of our hands. The second time almost never is. So the next time you hear the uneasy laugh, the half-whispered confession, the "he gives me a weird vibe," ask yourself what kind of town you're helping build around you. One that protects its comfort, or one that protects its people? Because the real distance between a party and home is not measured in minutes or miles, but in how many chances a community takes to speak up before it's too late.